The gospel Mark is a gospel of action, as you know, is written for the Roman culture, that they were not the Greek, they weren't the philosophic thinkers, they were the people of action, the road builders. And so this is the shortest gospel for the people, and one of the strongest words used in the gospel is immediately. And if you follow through the gospel of Mark, it says and immediately, and immediately, and immediately. And that would appeal to the Romans, who were people of action. And so they admired Jesus, the man of action, who made things happen. And so Jesus, he'd just been teaching these wonderful parables in the gospel of Mark. And then, when evening has come, he says, let's pass over to the other side. Have you noticed Jesus is often doing that to each of us? He's wanting us to pass over. He's wanting us to, he's stretching us to the other side. Now, the other side for Jewish people was often rather unknown and even dangerous and uncertain world. And remember, when they passed over, what did they mainly run into? Yeah, they were into the country of the Gadarenes and the Gadarene demoniac. And so the other side was the side that Jewish people didn't really like that side. But Jesus, in calling us to mission, is calling us to the other side of the lake. The other side, he's always calling you. And so what is the other side for you? What is that call to mission? For some, it's the downtown east side. For some of you, it may be Rwanda. For some of you, it may be actually connecting with the family members that you've been hiding from. It's interesting, we had Genesis read again, and when they fell into rebellion and disobedience, what did they do? They hid. And in families and marriages, our temptation is always to hide from each other. Sometimes we hide in plain sight. We hide and we blame. We hide and we blame. And that can be a way. And God is saying, go to the other side. Who are you hiding from? Welcome in your family. And who is it that you need to go to the other side? You know, and it might mean going to a very different culture. If you've been raised in wealth and privilege, you might feel uncomfortable with people raised in a very different setting, and God is stretching you. Or it might be the reverse. It might be going out of your educational norms. God has stretched St. Simon's for 72 years, and guess what? He hasn't stopped stretching the people of St. Simon's. And the future will be a stretch. And that's part of God's goodness. Part of his goodness. And they sent away the multitude. Since Jesus was often, he had these multitudes, and then he'd go off. And he was always going off on retreat. He was going off. And there were some other little ships. And nobody says much about these other little ships. You could almost do a sermon on these little ships. Remember Emmanuel Church when you started in your living room, a little ship alongside, wasn't it? And we walked with you, Paul and Lois, and there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship so that it was full. How many of you have had winds and storms in your life? Any exceptions? That's the Christian walk. That's carrying your cross. That is unavoidable. You will have that in your marriage. You will not avoid the storms. You'll have that in your family. You'll have that in your business. You'll have that in church. You'll have that even in this land country of Canada, this amazing country. You'll have the storms and the winds. They're part of life. They're unavoidable. And part of our hiding is we try to hide from the storms. I remember when I went to Hawaii for the first time, which is my definition of paradise. And I loved it, and I learned how to surf. My biggest problem is I was there. I took myself there, but God used it because He showed me my spiritual, I didn't know, spiritual emptiness, my lostness. Even in paradise, I was paradise lost. And within a month, I came to know Jesus back in Vancouver. If you don't know Christ, today would be a good day to meet Him. I'm talking to you here today, and those who will be watching online. Thank you, Kathy, for recording the sermons online. And so, the focus here is on Jesus. Jesus is always our center, isn't He?
Amen.
But we often get off-center. And when we take our eyes off Jesus, where does our focus usually go? We become self-centered. Or we become obsessed with our circumstances. And people even use the phrase, well, under the circumstances. You ever heard that expression? Under the circumstances. But whoever told you had to be under the circumstances? Is Jesus Lord?
Amen.
Or is circumstances Lord? And that's always the question. As Janice and I are transitioning, we're not retiring, but we're transitioning to focusing on writing books and speaking at conferences. We're not under the circumstances, we're under the Lordship of Jesus Christ. Archbishop Queens, I mentioned, he invited us back to Rwanda, where we're going to be in Kabongo in eastern Tanzania, speaking there at the Dawson Conference with Bishop Emmanuel, and also Tim Smith will be there, so that will be excellent. And then it looks as if we're going to Burundi to teach on marriage. And Burundi and Rwanda, as you know, are sort of like identical twins in some way, with a lot of differences. So it'll be really interesting to experience those two nations. That's going on the other side. Every time you cross a border, they don't want you taking pictures. Have you noticed? You're going to the other side, and you have to be on your best behavior so that you don't disappear. It's interesting. So Jesus, He's crossing the Sea of Galilee, and the Jewish people, even though a lot of them were fishermen up north, they really didn't like water. Water for them was almost a symbol of evil. It certainly was of chaos, of destruction. And so, they weren't big ocean people. If you look at how the Bible describes water. And so this is a time when your order can go into chaos. And life, as you know, is a balance of order and chaos. Have you noticed? How many of you have had no chaos in your life? Some of these people think, when I become a Christian, all my chaos, all my problems will disappear.
Amen.
Was that your experience? No. No, as a matter of fact, going on, Jesus sometimes plans chaos for you. That's what He did. He organized this. He knew what was going to happen. He had them go through this so they could grow up. Everything in life is about growing up. St. Simon's has been growing up for 72 years. And I've been growing up for almost 64 years. And if you stop growing up, you become childish. And that's always the temptation for older people, is to revert to childishness. Present company excluded. So there's Jesus in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. Now, how many of you ever suffered from insomnia? How do you feel about people when they're sleeping wonderfully right next to you? Do you ever pretend to resent them? What's wrong with you? How could you be sleeping in this situation? mothers especially, they care so deeply. It's hard, particularly for the children, right? And sometimes when the problem has been solved for a while, mothers will sometimes say, I'm glad I no longer have to worry about you. Right? You heard them say that? Yeah. But biblically speaking, Jesus said, we never have to worry. We're tempted to worry. Do you think they were worried in this boat? Yeah, these are experienced fishermen. They'd see this was the perfect storm. This was chaos and destruction. They're going down for the last time. How many of you have seen the Perfect Storm movie? Yeah, it was so gripping. You felt like you were there. And we were in Calgary, seen it, and we walked out literally into the perfect storm, and the parking lot was flooded, and it was amazing. We walked from the movie into reality. And that's how life can be. Sometimes reality can be more chaotic than Hollywood. And you know how Hollywood always has chaos in the movies to make it exciting. And let me tell you, you can count on Jesus to bring chaos into your future. So you will actually surrender control. And here's what they said. That's great. They said, Master. That's good. Is Jesus your master?
Amen.
Yeah. And then here, carest thou not that we perish? Isn't that an interesting prayer? Why don't we say that together? Master, carest thou not that we perish? Do you know how many times St. Simon's in 72 years has secretly or publicly thought that prayer? St. Simon's, there are many churches, I'm not sure that have closed, but many times St. Simon's in his 72-year history has thought it's perishing. Every time you go through major transitions, carest thou not. And what are they saying to Jesus? Don't you care? And when you're going through challenging times in your marriage, in your family, in business, where's God when I need Him? Does God really care if you've been through a tragic car accident or a cancer or a breakup? You can say, where's God? And you can get angry, and you can get bitter, and you can get negative, and you can go hide in the bush. And why are people tempted like Annie to hide in the bush? Because it works in the short term. Your anxiety, which controls most of us, which is emotional pain, it will actually temporarily decrease. When you hide, if you hide from your wife because she's being so painful, or if you hide from your husband because he's being so painful, your anxiety will decrease for a while. You'll feel better. Oh, I know, that's the answer to my problems. Just hide from my spouse. Don't look at your spouse as I'm saying this. But we're all tempted. If one of your children or your parents are being very painful, if you hide from them, you will feel better. But only for a short period. And then you'll feel lonely and you'll feel abandoned and the pain will come back. And people quite often in marriage and family, they go in a yo-yo. They're an elastic band. And I can't stand being with you. I can't stand being away from you. And so they go back and forth and back and forth. And alcoholics in particular, they do what's called a geographic cure. Because they can't stand intimacy. So they hide in the bush. And it works for a while. And sometimes we call that summer vacation. But we're often exhausted from our summer vacations. And then we're glad to get home for a day or two. Don't you care? And that's a deep, deep question. When life is hard, it's easy to question. Not God's existence, but whether God cares. Does God really love me? How can He love me if He let me go through this? If I've been so wounded and broken and rejected, it doesn't, if there's a God, He must be a sadist. And a lot of the atheists out there who are more obsessed about God than we are. They're always talking about the God they don't believe in. A lot of it is, how could there be a loving God if he let this happen? And sometimes it feels like they're right. And so that's the cry. Don't you care? You're asleep at the switch. Where's God when I need him? And even as mature Christians, if there's such a thing, we can feel that. Do you really care? And even in a marriage, we can simply doubt. Does my spouse really care in a family? Do my children care? If they don't remember your birthday, or if your spouse doesn't remember the wedding anniversary, God forbid, people would say, they don't really love me. They don't care. If they don't turn up your graduation, Hollywood always has the father missing the important event. Have you noticed? Yeah. And some of that's a stereotype, but kids, they can carry that for the next 60 years. My dad doesn't care. He's so caught up in business. I don't feel loved. They give me North Shore money and stuff, but they don't give me their time. I'm never good enough for my parents. I can't satisfy them. They try to improve me. They're just being critical. And a lot of people in North Shore are very successful. And their children don't feel like they can live up to it. Don't you care, Dad? I'm perishing. I'm perishing. So that's a good prayer. You can never predict your future, can you?
No.
I was going to say I've buried a lot of you, but I've buried a lot of your friends. And some of them, I might have thought I would have buried you and not them. You can never tell. You can't predict it. Life is full of uncertainty. And so Jesus arose. Isn't that wonderful? It's like that resurrection. In the middle of our chaos and our fear and our uncertainty, he arises. Let God arise, and he rebukes the wind. Do you think he can still do that today?
Yes.
Yeah. We're not under the circumstances. We're under the Lordship of Jesus. But we live like we're under, we become quite often, you can easily be more concerned, like in business, about finances than people. The best leaders in business, they care more about the people. And the finances are blessed because of it. And he says to see peace, shalom, be still. Is he saying that today? Has Jesus changed his mind? Does he still speak shalom into your marriage? Can you hear it when he says shalom to the anxiety and chaos of your marriage? And the interesting thing about men, you ask men about marriages, and they usually say, oh, it's great. And you talk to the wife, they're like it's like in a different marriage. And the men don't usually get it until the moving truck comes. But God is speaking peace. Peace into your marriage, into your family, into your business, even to St. Simon's. I've been here 31 years. This will be a transition for us as the herds and also for you. And there can be the wind and the waves. And when there's winds and waves, we can regress to some of the earlier behavior we thought we got over. And the wind was ceased, and there was a great calm. Imagine an annual general meeting or a special general meeting where there's a great calm. That'd be kind of nice, wouldn't it? Only God does that in the midst of the storm and the waves, and Jesus speaks to them. And he asks two very interesting questions. You notice how often Jesus asks questions? Like in the garden, he asked 4 questions. Where are you? I don't know. We usually have no idea. Where is St. Simon's at this point in his journey? I don't know. Guess we're here. St. Simon's had a very interesting journey if you trace it in 72 years, all the way from the fire hall. And here's his first question, which I think is a very good question. Why are you so fearful? I don't think that's just for them. I think that's for us. Why are you so fearful? You know what I notice? When we become fearful, the more fearful we are, the more painful we are to be around. People can tell when we're fearful, when we're anxious. If we haven't put it all on the altar, you know what happens if we don't have it on the altar? We're trying to fix it and control it. How many of you wives like it when your husband tries to fix you? No! And women often view their husbands as home improvement projects. You know why they married you? Because they thought you had potential. Now it's a long-term project. But they're kind of hopeful. They didn't marry. You know, women can see our flaws. I mean, they're often too kind to tell us. Janice waited years to tell me the worst things about myself because she's so kind. And I thought our first year was just really great. I was kind of oblivious. Men can often be a bit oblivious. And then years later, she told me how painful it was to be married to in the first year. Why are you so fearful? Because we're afraid we're perishing. It's all going to go down. A lot of people won't work on their marriage because they're afraid they might upset it. You know, let's not disturb it. You know, don't disturb sleeping dogs or something. And don't deal with that son you have. That's, you know, he's in his 40s and he hasn't left home and he's playing video games. Because he'll just get angry. You know, those people that will never get married. You know what happened? You know, people are afraid to talk about marriage because they'll just get angry at you. And why are you so afraid? Why are you so afraid of other people's anger? You know, we have some people at St. Simon's who struggle with anger. Present company excluded. And I've noticed some people, they walk on eggshells around these people because they're afraid of upsetting them. Why are you so afraid? Their anger isn't going to kill you. You don't have to be afraid of angry people. Most angry people, you know, it's like bad breath and body odor. They're oblivious to it. They don't know they're angry. They can see other people's anger. Why are you so afraid? I've noticed with mothers, the more afraid and anxious mothers become, the more some of them are tempted to become controlling. Present company excluded. Have any of you seen that?
Never.
Yeah. And it's because they're trying to be helpful. They're trying to be helpful. They're not trying to hurt it. They're trying to hold it all together because mothers care. Men can just sort of disconnect and be oblivious and have no idea what's going on. The whole family's falling apart. But women can't disconnect. They're there. They're there, and they're trying to hold it together. But the more controlling mothers become, you know, the rest of us, it's really painful to be around controlling mothers. And they mean the best. And our whole world, in some ways, even our educational system, sometimes feels like that. And they're trying to protect you. Nobody should get hurt. Why are you so afraid? Imagine if, when we become fearful of chaos, we surrender to Jesus instead of trying to control other people. What if we put it on the altar? What if I'm not under circumstances, I'm under the Lordship of Jesus. So Jesus says, why are you so fearful? Well, the answer is they've got every good reason in the world. They're in the midst of the worst storm. I have a reason to be fearful. And some of you, when you're fearful, it's interesting, you go from fear to anger very quickly. From fear to anger. And you're oblivious to your fear, but when you're fearful, and that's why a lot of women nowadays, they're in touch with their anger, let's say, because they feel powerful when they're angry. They don't like the fear. But imagine if we let Jesus deal with our fear. Why are you not just fearful, but so fearful? What are you so afraid of? And when we get afraid, we can get negative. And the sky's falling, and everything's falling apart, and there's no future, and I might as well give up. And that negativity can be contagious. Anxiety is the most contagious emotion. We know that from family systems and depression. And when people get fearful and anxious, it can just grab you. And everybody's fearful and anxious, and everything's going to hell in a handbasket. And then Jesus asks a second very interesting question. How is it that you have no faith? That's a strong question from Jesus. People are saying, Simon's, how is it as you're crossing into the other side that you have no faith? They might say, you may not have no faith. Don't you care, Lord, that we're perishing? When we let fear control us, fear is the opposite of faith. Imagine if we gave the future of St. Simon's to Jesus. We put it on the future, and a great calm, shalom, actually shapes the future of St. Simon's. Wouldn't that be exciting? How is it that you have no faith? St. Simon's has a great future if we don't give in to fear. How is it that you have no faith? Do you think Jesus is still on the throne?
Yes.
Oh, for some of you, maybe I couldn't have left early enough. For some of you, my leaving is the end of it. And neither is true. How is it that you have no faith? Father Bill Ferris, my predecessor, was an amazing man, and he laid a foundation. I pray that God would send me to a second generation renewal congregation where I could build on that foundation. Now, did I change anything? Of course, it always changed the DNA, but I also honored his contribution. St. Simon's is here today because of Father Bill's amazing contribution. And then verse 41 wraps up, and he says, why are you so afraid? And they become more afraid. But they weren't afraid that they're going to die in the ocean, that they're going down for the last time. They're afraid because they get, who am I in the midst of? They had a holy, awesome appreciation for Jesus. Jesus is who this is all about. This has got to be our focus. When people get anxious and fearful in churches, our focus goes off Jesus, and it goes on to the problems and the circumstances, and then whatever, and the conflicts, etc. They feared. So imagine if we, the people of St. Simon's, which I still am until June 30th, we, the people of St. Simon's, feared exceedingly. John Francis said, God is awful. God is awesome. If you imagine if we recovered that. Because when you're going through changes and transitions and storms, you can lose that. And you become like, North Star, practical, solving everything and trying to be in control. And controlling people is just painful to be around. They feared exceedingly. And they said one to another, what manner of man is this? And that's always the question. What manner of man is this? And that's when the Canadian church has often lost that focus. We've lost our focus on the person of Jesus. And we're more focused on church than him, and church is important as a family. But our only question is, who is this guy we're serving? What is it about Jesus? Is he big enough to handle the future storms and winds of St. Simon's?
Yes.
Yes. And is he big enough to guide Janice and I as we're going off focusing in Africa, writing books, speaking trumpet, yeah.
Yes.
And we can trust Him with our future. I give thanks. It's been a privilege to know you for 31 years. Leaving is about grieving, and you go through mixed emotions. And I have them. What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey Him? Isn't that good news? Edward Hopper, he wrote that amazing hymn, Jesus Savior, pilot me over life's tempestuous sea. Unknown waves before me roll, hiding rock and treacherous shoal. Chart and compass come from Thee, Jesus Savior, pilot me. That needs to be our focus. St. Simon's is continuing its journey to the other side.
Amen.
We're not under the circumstances. We're under the Lordship of Jesus. As Jesus said, why are you so afraid? Don't you have any faith? Let's pray. And dear Jesus, I want to pray for each person that's here today who represents a very important part of the St. Simon story, past, present, and future. And Lord, we call forth a great future for St. Simon's, even through the winds and the storms. Even when it may seem like you're asleep in the boat, we believe that you have the power over the winds and the waves. Help us realize what manner of man you are. In your wonderful name. Amen.